Jack Ebling here with Lindsay Huddleston, and it's a press pass preview. We're at Spartan Stadium after Michigan State's 40-31 win over the stubborn Indiana Hoosiers. Wasn't easy, wasn't pretty, but Michigan State will take it now. 4-1 for the year, 2-0 in the Big Ten.
Great college football game. Probably not the score people were expecting. And personally, we've been talking about this all week long. I was worried about Michigan State in this game, but they persevered. Adversity was the word that was used by Coach D'Antonio as well as Brian Lewerke, and they overcame the adversity and they got the win.
Well, you picked Indiana to win.
I did.
28-14, and then again 31-28, and I said, Lindsay, you might be right on this.
Right.
Michigan State showing resiliency, and that was one of the questions we both had.
Correct.
How would they react when their feet were held to the fire, and Michigan State had to come from behind, and then after Indiana had that tying drive in the closing minutes, to go ahead and get that field goal by Matt Coughlin, his second in the last 3.5 minutes of the game.
Right.
And then they came back, and the only takeaway of the game, the final play for an insurance touchdown to make it 40-31.
In the second half, Jack, you talked about those takeaways, the lack thereof, I should say, and Michigan State didn't have any, which kind of made you concerned as well as far as what they can do, because that's so important. It
was a quarterback's game, and Brian Lewerke threw for 300 and also ran the ball very well, including a 30-yarder at the end that set up that field goal. It would have been a lot longer kick for Matt Coughlin if Lewerke hadn't broken loose. And he says he decided that he wasn't going to score. He went down at the 1-yard line so Indiana wouldn't have a minute and a half with the ball back.
Right. Great management all the way around by the senior leader. I wonder if we're going to look back at this game and say that this was a turning point, because they were kind of the same old Michigan State in the first half. That third quarter, and all the players I talked to agreed, was Indiana's quarter.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that was going to be the start of a bad turnout, but they turned it around, and I think this may be a game to look back on with that.
It might be a key as you go down the road. Michael Penix Jr., who had missed 2 games, including the loss to Ohio State, was fantastic, and 20 straight completions.
Right, we thought we were going to see a record. What the time record would have been, what, 26?
26 would have been the NCAA mark, and he gave it a shot. Now, a lot of them were very short passes, easy throws, bubble screens, but he got rid of the ball quickly, accurately, and allowed Indiana to do things a lot of people didn't think any Big Ten team could do against Michigan State.
So is it possible we can give a 2020-2021 scouting report on Indiana with Penix as the quarterback going forward?
Indiana's best football is ahead of him. Stevie Scott, the running back, also, he's going to be back. So Indiana has maybe brighter days ahead, but for Michigan State, this was a must-win, Lindsay. Going to Ohio State next week, then to Wisconsin the week after that. If they had lost this one, it would have really been tough.
Yeah, and I found myself having a wager, so we got to get some wins so I don't have to pay a steak dinner for somebody. But anyway, you're right about that.
Who would that be? That would be Hondo Carpenter.
Hondo,
right?
He got me into it.
He said Michigan State's going to lose the next 3.
Yeah, and as long as Michigan State's win one of those, I'm not paying for dinner. But anyway, we're going to root for them just because. I think it was a great game. Probably one of the better college football games as far as the action.
Yeah.
But would people say Indiana, an unranked team, was a lesser opponent, and will that take away from the win in any way?
No. I think when you get into Big Ten play, every game is important. I don't want to say they all count one. That's not true, because the win next week over Ohio State would matter more than this game would. Nonetheless, for homecoming, it was a terrific time. They honored Lorenzo White at the end of the first quarter.
Low White.
Nice little ceremony on the field that Tom Izzo narrated for Mark D'Antonio at the end of the game. In the locker room, or in the interview room, I should say, I had a chance to talk to a lot of the players, and I told Joe Bacci about the 20 straight completions. And he couldn't believe it, but he didn't want to hear it.
He didn't want to hear about that. Well, not on his watch, of course.
No, and there were so many key penalties in this game. We talk about who's going to win, but again, does the flag fly or does it not? There was a 60-yard punt return by Indiana that was negated. There was a fumble by Lewerke that Indiana recovered that was negated. There were 2 pass interference calls back-to-back on Indiana's tying drive. And looking at those calls, it was hard to believe. But one of them, I thought Tom Izzo was going to get a technical foul. He was onto the field already.
Sure. Of all those, I think that 60-yard run was so pivotal. Because at that time, the momentum was in Indiana's hands, and they were been in scoring position, and that could have really changed the momentum of the game.
Yeah. Indiana played about as well as it could.
Mm-hmm.
I think it executed the game plan very well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Indiana said, hey, you know what? If we can be tied with Michigan State coming down to the final minutes, we're going to take that.
Right. What I would ask is, could it be said that the defense let the team down today?
It wasn't a defensive day.
Mm-hmm.
But this was a day for the offense to pick up the defense. And that's what football is. It's a team game. Sometimes you make a play in special teams. Sometimes it's the offense.
Right.
Matt Seibert again.
Right.
Another touchdown catch.
Right.
Mr. Touchdown has 3 now in the last 2 games.
Right.
And another terrific game for Darryl Stewart. He was on top of his game. And again, over 100 yards, 117 receiving yards for him. And he is certainly playing like an all Big Ten receiver.
Right. Before we get out of here, can we talk about what's going to be on Press Pass tomorrow?
Yes, you.
Oh, okay.
Lindsay Huddleston's going to be on with Tom Crawford and Rico Beard and Doug Warren.
Okay.
And Lorenzo White is going to
White.
be joining us.
Okay, great.
So that is the plan for Press Pass. I am off to Ford Field.
Okay.
Be seeing the Detroit Lions and Kansas City Chiefs and see if the Lions can remain undefeated. It's hard to believe. They could be 0-3, but now they get Patrick Mahomes. See how that works out for them.
We'll see.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see you tomorrow night at 11 o'clock, Fox 47. Press Pass. And for Lindsay Huddleston, happy homecoming, everyone.